Namaste everyone, welcome back children. Children, as we have picked up our topic universe and the solar system, and in our previous video we have talked about the sun and the planets. Today in this video we'll talk about another celestial body that we see in the sky, and that is the moon. So let us take up our topic, the moon. So children, we have already talked about the solar system, the sun and planets in our previous video, and today in this video session we'll talk about the satellites, or also called the moons. So first of all, what do we see in the sky? During daytime we see the sun, and at night we see the moon, planets and stars. And we know that stars twinkle in the night sky, whereas the planets do not, as they do not have light of their own. And if we talk about satellites, satellite is an object that moves continuously around a planet. And moon is a natural satellite of the earth. So children, here we should know that except for Mercury and Venus, all other planets have satellites moving around them. That means the first two planets of the solar system, Mercury and Venus, they do not have satellites, but rest of the planets, they have their own satellites moving around them. So now let us talk more about our own satellite, that is the moon. So moon is a natural satellite of Earth. It takes 27 days to go around the earth. So as you can see here that the earth revolves around the sun, right? And we know that earth takes 365 days to complete one revolution around the sun. Whereas the moon, which is revolving around the planet earth, it takes only 27 days to complete one revolution. It is smaller than the earth. So size of the moon can be seen here is smaller than the earth. It can be seen at night with a naked eye. Yes, we can see the moon clearly at night. It appears bright not because of its own light, but because it reflects the light of the sun. So children, we should know that planets also do not have light of their own. They reflect the light of the sun, so we are able to see them. Similarly, satellites also do not have light of their own, but they also reflect the light of the sun. That means when the rays of the sun, they fall on the moon, we are able to see the moon. Though the moon can be seen at night with a naked eye, it can be seen more in detail through a telescope. So that means although we can see the moon during night, we do not need any object to see it. It is clearly visible. But if we want to see it in more detail, then we should use a telescope. Now, what is a telescope? Telescope is an instrument that helps us to see faraway objects closely and clearly. When we see through a telescope, a lot of craters are seen on its surface. Now, what are craters? Craters are large pits or holes on the surface of the moon. That means large holes on the surface of moon are also called craters, as you can see the craters over here. And children, there is no air on the moon, and it has a lot of mountains and valleys on its surface. And you know, the first man to land on the moon was Neil Armstrong. In 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first human to have landed and walked on the moon. And children, you must have observed that we do not get to see the moon as a complete circle every night we look at it. At times it is full, at other times it is not full, half, less than half, or at times it may not be seen at all. The different shapes of moons that we see are called phases of moon. So as you can see here, we have the full moon phase, then we have new moon phase, which is also called no moon phase, where we are not able to see the moon in the sky. Then we have half moon phase also. And sometimes even it is lesser than the half. Now, children, will talk about the gravity on the moon. A person can jump 6 times higher on the moon as compared to Earth because the gravity on moon is 6 times lesser than that on the Earth. Now, first of all, let us understand what is a gravity. If we talk about the gravity of the Earth, so that means it is that force by which the earth pulls everything towards itself, right? So we are able to, sit, stand, walk because of the gravity of the earth, because earth is holding everything on its surface because of this force, and this force is called the gravity. So similar force is there on the moon as well, but the force of gravity on moon is 6 times lesser than that of the earth. So children, a high jumper who can jump 2 meters high on the surface of the earth will jump 6 times higher. That means 12 meters on the surface of the moon. That is why we say that moon's gravity is 1/6 from that of the earth. So children, that was all about the moon, and now let us take up some important terms. So first is the solar system. The sun and 8 planets together form the solar system. Orbits, fixed path in which planets revolve around the sun, are called orbits. Planets, these are huge round objects that move around the sun in fixed paths called orbits. Satellites, an object that moves around a planet in a fixed path is called its satellite. Craters, these are pits or holes on the surface of the moon. Telescope is an instrument that helps to see faraway objects closely and clearly. And now let us take up the recapitulation quiz. State whether the following statements are true or false. Satellites move around the sun. That is false. We know that planets move around the sun. Moon reflects the light of the sun. That is true. Moon revolves around the sun. That is false. Moon or a satellite revolves around the planets. Moon is Earth's natural satellite. That is true. There is no air on the moon. Again, that is true. Different shapes of the moon are also called its phases. That is true. So with this, let us move on to the think and answer section. What are satellites? What are craters? Draw and explain different phases of moon. So children, I hope after going through this video session, we are able to answer these questions. But if you have any doubts, you can see the video slides as mentioned here. So children, that was all about the moon, and in our next video, we'll talk about the stars. So until then, take care of yourselves.